Hello, I'm Margaret from Blue Monkey Tea Company in Pittsburgh, and today I will be telling you about unusual teas from unusual places. Tea has been known for over 5,000 years, and as you probably know, it is the second most consumed beverage in the world after water. There have been many attempts made to grow tea pretty much anywhere where people were interested in drinking tea. Some areas of the world have more conducive climate to tea cultivations, and some little less, but somehow, even in those less suitable climates, tea can still thrive. As you know, most of the tea come from countries like India, China, Taiwan, Japan, Sri Lanka. But today I would like to take you on a tour of the world and visit all those less known places that also cultivate and produce tea. And this is the topic of this presentation. Let's have a cup. What a pleasure. This is one of my favorite, if not the most favorite tea. And this is one of the teas I have on the table. I will tell you a little later what tea it is. Let's talk about tea plant. Tea plant, Camellia Sinensis, is a evergreen plant that can grow into a tree, but usually it's trimmed at the waist level for easy leaf picking. It likes tropical, subtropical climate. It likes a lot of rain, humidity, but also likes sunshine. And it likes acidic and well-drained soil. Theoretically, it can grow anywhere between 42nd degree north of the equator and 33rd degree south. By the way, Pittsburgh, where we're located, is on the 40th. So I'm thinking, maybe it's possible. In fact, I do have my own couple plants on my balcony right now, and so far they're doing okay, but they're just this little. Cold-resistant cultivars can even survive frost during the dormancy period, even temperatures down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Sometimes in colder areas or outside the zone that I just mentioned, there could be a pocket of the microclimate, possibly due to the fact that there's a large body of water nearby, or some kind of mountain wall that's protecting the area from cold and wind. In some hot climates, but dry ones, also tea can be cultivated, but with the help of irrigation. Let's go to North America, starting with USA. Most of the tea gardens in USA, and there's actually quite a few of them, are in the southeast part, in states such as North and South Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi, even Virginia. One of the most known gardens is Charleston Tea Garden. It's what I actually visited that place twice already, once just this past June, and it's wonderful. It's magical. Let me tell you a little bit about history of Charleston Tea Garden. It's very interesting. In 1880s, Dr. Charles Shepherd established a tea garden in which was called Pinehurst Tea Plantation in Somerville, near in this area, and it was mostly experimental. He was trying to develop cultivars and methods of cultivating suitable for that area, and he was doing really well. Unfortunately, the place was closed and then abandoned after his death in 1915. Eventually, in 1960s, Lipton established experimental station growing tea plants, which actually were transplanted from Dr. Charles Shepherd's garden, because the plants were still thriving there. Well, they were growing wild, but they were still there. So Lipton used those plants, transplanted them to this experimental station, and they were doing well. Eventually, in 1987, that estate was purchased by Bill Hull and Mark Fleming, and they did a big expansion, and also they started utilizing special machinery that was sort of like a mutant of tobacco and cotton picker, and I guess it did very well. They also built a processing plant. In fact, if you guys ever go to visit, which I totally recommend, you can see with your own eyes how tea is processed in that hole. They also have a lovely gift shop. They have trolley tours of the plantation, and you can drink a lot of tea in their tea bar. Right now, since 2003, the Charleston Tea Garden is also in partnership with the Bigelow family. And Charleston teas, we actually have some here. One of their most known is called American Classic. It's a black tea. They also have green tea, flavored teas, and they have First Flush. First Flush, very, very amazing stuff. They always have it in the beginning of the season. It's a real treat. And yeah, let's have some tea. The next tea garden located in USA that I would like to talk about is the Great Mississippi Tea Company. It was established in 2013, so quite recently, in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Currently, they have around 1,000 producing plant, and also another 45,000 or so plants that are maturing. So they're not quite ready yet for harvesting. Owners are very committed not only to producing high quality teas, but also to developing a working model of the tea farm that would be, possibly utilized not only in US but in other parts of the world. And we just got some tea from them. This is Mississippi Queen. It's a green tea. We also got some black tea, and they make oolong and also yellow tea, which is very unusual. This is their green tea. It's beautiful. It's very large leaf, wiry. They take really good care of tea during the processing. They're handmade, beautiful, amazing teas. And here's some pictures. And one of the pictures is of Jason and Timmy. Another tea garden that I would like to present is called Camellia Forest Tea Garden in North Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's run by Christina Parks and her husband David for over 35 years. They specialize not only in growing and hand processing high quality teas, but they also shared their knowledge through workshops, tea tastings and other educational events. They also sell plants. So if you would like to grow your own Camellia Sinensis or possibly start some Camellia Sinensis garden, that would be a place to get your plants. And here's some photos. Let's go to the West Coast now. There isn't that many, but there are quite a few tea gardens in Oregon. One is Minto Island Tea Company in Salem, Oregon. There's also a small-scale garden next to actual tea shop in Eugene, Oregon called JT. Believe it or not, there's also a tea estate on Vancouver Island, British Columbia in Canada. Those places are able to grow tea because there's a specific microclimate. As far as I believe they're above that 42nd degree, but because of the specific microclimatic conditions, like I said, due to the body of water, or like for example, Oregon tea gardens and other farms are located in Willamette Valley, which is a valley that runs along the Willamette River, and I believe this particular area is much warmer and protected from harsh conditions, and that's why growing tea is possible. And I believe the Vancouver Island is protected in a way by the sea, by the ocean water that's next to it. Okay, are we done with US? Not. There's a perfect place also in USA. Do you know what I'm talking about? Hawaii. Tea planting took off in Hawaii quite recently, in 1980s, with a new generation of small-scale artisanal tea growers. What is Hawaii known for? Mostly for coffee. And yes, indeed, the part of the most of the tea estates and coffee estates are located on Big Island, and coffee plants are grown on the west side, while tea plants are grown on the east side. Green teas are characterized by citrus-like notes, while black teas tend to have a honey-like sweetness. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a hold of Hawaiian teas. Maybe one day when we travel there, we'll have some. Maybe some of you already had some. Sounds delicious. Where are we going to go next? Let's go to South America. In South America, there are tea gardens in 3 countries: Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia. Here's the map. Let's discuss Argentina. Surprisingly, most tea that comes to US, believe it or not, is from Argentina. It's generally lower grade tea, CDC, crush, tear, and curl, and it's used in making of iced tea, mostly bottled iced tea. I was actually surprised by that fact, that most of the tea here in the US comes from Argentina. Not here. We have over 350 loose leaf teas, and I guess it's a good thing that they're not from Argentina. Sorry. The tea cultivation in Argentina dates back to 1920s, when first tea seeds were brought by Russian immigrants from Russia. In 1924, Argentinian government actually was promoting tea cultivation and giving farmers Chinese tea seeds. Most tea grown now is in northeast provinces, Misiones and Corrientes. Okay, let's talk about Colombia. Colombia is very up and becoming tea grower, and we are actually selling and enjoying Colombian teas. We have green Colombian tea and also black Colombian. The topography and climate in Bitaco, this is the name of the estate, is very conducive to tea cultivation. It's also positioned, the altitude is very high. It's almost 6,000 or over 6,000 feet above sea level. These conditions and careful, very good processing of the tea leaves ensure the high quality. And I really enjoy those teas. The closeness to the equator also makes it possible for tea to grow all year round. So they can harvest tea pretty much all year round. The tea garden is, Bitaco Tea Garden is also located very close to the rainforest, protected area. And I believe the big variety of flora of the plants surrounding Bitaco is probably also influencing flavor of tea grown in that soil. Organic black tea, and those teas are organic. Organic black tea has exceptional full-bodied flavor with very light kind of malty notes and a little bit of fruity notes too. Very smooth, no astringency. Organic Bitaco Colombia green tea is very rich and robust, unlike any other green tea. And people who love black tea, they probably would love that green tea as well. It's right here. It's beautiful. Brazil. In Brazil, there is a tea garden run by a Japanese company called Yamamoto Yama. They specialize in Japanese style teas. Yamamoto Yama is now also the owner of Stash Tea. So you will find Brazilian teas in their assortment. I want to mention about yerba mate because Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay are very are known for cultivating and producing yerba mate. Yerba mate is not a tea. It's not Camellia Sinensis. However, because it's so popular in those countries and it's become popular here and around the world, I just want to say a few words about this. I'm holding it here. Yerba mate is caffeinated, but the caffeine in yerba mate is much more friendly. It doesn't cause side effects like jitters or anxiety. It's a pretty much national drink in those countries. And if you are interested in learning about yerba mate, the coffee tea, please watch my video presentation on that subject, also available free at this Chicago Tea Festival. Africa. Let's go to Africa. There are quite a few regions in Africa that grow tea. The farming conditions are very conducive to tea cultivation. Hot, humid, with quite a bit of rain. especially in western part of Africa. Kenya. Kenya is the third largest tea producer supplier in the world. Climate is very good for tea cultivation. Hot and humid. Soil is acidic, volcanic, and also because of the positioning on the equator or near the equator, the tea can grow all year round. So there's no dormancy period. Most of Kenyan tea is processed as CTC, crush, tear, and curl, and to be added and blended with other teas, and it's exported. And a lot of British companies, including PG Tips, Taylors of Harrogate, Taifu, they use Kenyan teas for that kick to give their tea a stronger taste. However, these days, Kenya also, they make also those more artisanal full leaf teas, and one of them is Milima Estate. This is higher grade tea, fuller leaf, and it also has that nice strong flavor, strong mouthfeel. In fact, when customers come here and they looking for, I want something really strong, I want strong tea, I was like, okay, here you go, this is it. We know what to sell them. Another very interesting tea from Kenya is purple tea. And I have it right here. Purple tea is a very interesting cultivar, variety Assamica, that was developed in Kenya recently. The purple hue of the leaves and the brew comes from high level of pigment called anthocyanin. Anthocyanin is developed in a plant as a defense mechanism against UV rays, and also is antioxidant. So they say that actually purple tea may have more antioxidants than other teas, even green tea. It is very pleasant. It can be processed as black tea, green tea, or even oolong. The one that we have here is processed as black tea. It is pretty robust, full body, but at the same time, it's very kind of sweet tasting, and it has almost like a stone fruit notes, kind of like maybe plum, and very long, lingering finish. It's exquisite. If they started experimenting with purple teas in Kenya, I believe it was around 2010, 2011, and that tea wasn't that good yet, but now they mastered it, and I have to say, if you ever have a chance to try it, you have to do it. Yes, Malawi. Malawi is also one of the largest producers of tea. There's one very interesting estate called Satemwa, and we do have their tea as well. Satemwa Estate was established by young Scot MacLean Kay in 1920s, and then it was run by his son Robert. Now it's run by his grandson Alex, so it is a family affair. They produce all different teas: black, green, oolong, white, and even pu'er. They sent me a sampler, a package. I'm not sure where it is now. I would love to show you, but a package of teas a couple years ago, and they were amazing. It was such a treat. I could not believe so many varieties of teas. This is one of the best parts of being a tea shop owner, that I get to try all these amazing teas. And some people don't realize that there are actually so many different teas, not just various types depending on the processing, just green, black, oolong, white, but within everything depends on not just the genetics but the terroir. Even, let's say, even tea that was grown on a different slope of the same mountain, or maybe it was picked up at a different time, it already is going to taste different. But let's get back to subject here. Oh, Satemwa Estate. If you ever want to go there, you can stay in a charming Chawani bungalow that was the original house built on the property in 1936. And here is the picture. There's also tea, Camellia Sinensis, grown in South Africa. South Africa is mostly known for rooibos, right? Which is not a real tea, it's a different plant. Rooibos is grown mostly in Western Cape province, while Camellia Sinensis is grown in Eastern Cape province. The other African countries growing tea are Tanzania, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria. Some of those countries have to use irrigation because it's too dry for tea to survive. But with irrigation, they're doing really well. Okay, let's have a sip. I think we're going to travel now to Asia. And yes, you know about those well-known countries that grow tea. Like I said, India, China, Japan, Sri Lanka, Taiwan. But let's visit some of the less known tea growing countries. And we're going to start with Western Asia. Georgia, former Soviet Republic. Tea, as we know, has been an integral part of Russian lifestyle for many, many years. It all started with the gift of tea from Mongolian ambassador to Tsar in mid-17th century. For many years, Georgia region, which is located near Black Sea, with its mild climate, has been a source of citrus, grapes, wine, and also tea. Now, again, in private hands, those gardens, the tea gardens, flourish, and their teas are exquisite. We have tea here from Georgia, and yes, this is what I have in my cup. It's a Georgia tea. How can we describe it? It's very fragrant. It has definitely floral notes, but I taste something like raisin flavor, a little bit winey, and definitely very, very long echo finish. And you can definitely steep a second cup with the same tea. The other country that's located in Asia is Turkey. Turkey has the largest per capita consumption of tea, believe it or not, even higher than Ireland and England. Most tea is grown in eastern Black Sea coast, Rize province. However, most of the Turkish tea is consumed locally by Turkish people. Very little tea will be exported. That's why it's really hard to actually get Turkish tea unless you buy it in a Turkish store here in America or in other countries. Usually that is a black tea, very strong, and it's prepackaged. Now we're going to travel to East Asia and talk about some East Asian countries, less known but also producing tea. Nepal. Nepal teas are very similar to Darjeeling teas from India. And the reason for that is that those two countries are located in a similar area, in the foothills of Himalayas. And as you see, this is Nepali tea, very similar to Darjeeling's. In fact, if I didn't know it was Nepal tea, I would probably say it's a Darjeeling. Very similar, also brisk, pleasantly astringent, and the first flush, the same as with Darjeeling, is the best. Well, for some, because some people prefer second flush. Another East Asian country that I would like to mention is Vietnam. Vietnamese teas are mostly processed as black teas, mostly CTC for export. However, this particular tea that we have here is a full leaf. Just very nice brisk aroma. Vietnamese people actually like green tea. Teas in Vietnam are often scented with flowers such as chrysanthemum, jasmine, lotus. Malaysia is also known for tea gardens, and their tea gardens are beautiful, often a tourist attraction. They're tours, and I would love to go there. A couple of them are called, one is called Cameron Tea Plantation, and the other one, Gaharu Tea Valley. There's also a plantation called Bach. A couple other countries of Eastern Asia that grow and manufacture tea will be Korea and also Indonesia, and especially Sumatra and Java Island. Let's talk a little bit about Japanese black tea. Japan is known mostly for green teas. However, recently they started making black tea. It's called Benifuki, and I have it right here. The base of this tea is a hybrid grown from Assamica variety and Sinensis. And this was developed in 1965 in Kagoshima Prefecture. It's a beautiful, very, very dark black tea with reddish golden color liqueur. Full body, but very mellow, very pleasant, soft taste with the notes of stone fruit like plum, and also very long, smooth aftertaste. Yeah, this is one of my, in fact, this is probably my second favorite tea. Let's go to Australia. Australians are tea lovers, but for many, many years, tea was imported to Australia from other countries. It was Japanese actually who decided to experiment with tea cultivation in Australia, and unfortunately they were exporting it back to their country, Japan. However, recently there's more and more tea gardens being established in Australia for the in-country use. Most of the so there's such gardens as Madura Estate in New South Wales, Mangrove Mountain Estate also in New South Wales, and Narada Tea in North Queensland. And here is a couple people, planters in Australia. He looks kind of like Crocodile Dundee, I think. There's also tea grown in New Zealand. There's one large-scale commercial tea garden called Zia Long in Hamilton since 1996. Local climate and terroir is very conducive to tea cultivation, and they specialize in green, oolong, and black teas. Well, did I miss any continent? Yes, Europe. Let's talk about Europe. Do you think there is any tea grown in Europe? Yes, there is. Portugal. Portugal has at least one garden. It's called Camellia, run by Nina Grantowski. They specialize in Japanese style teas, and they also use tea flowers in their blends. Very interesting. In Spain, there is a lady, Alicia Ocha, who cultivates tea plants, but mostly for like educational experimental purpose on Orbala farm in Paderne, Galicia region. And believe it or not, there is tea grown, there are tea gardens in England and in Scotland. How about that? In England, there's a garden called Tregotan in Cornwall. It's close to ocean and microclimate, supposedly similar to Darjeeling in India. In Scotland, they have huge climate challenges, cold temperatures, snow, but they're trying. Their plants don't grow that fast, but they are growing. They have to use plastic tents, and of course they had to use cold-resistant cultivars from Nepal, Darjeeling. Wow, that was a lot of places we've just visited. I must say I've learned a lot of geography while preparing for this presentation. One thing for sure, tea plant Camellia Sinensis is a tough cookie. It can obviously thrive with the help of humans, even in the colder climates. Tea apparently is not just a global drink, but it is becoming a global cultivar as well. As you see, it can grow on all these continents. I hope that you already had some of these teas or eventually will have opportunity to try them. Maybe some of you will also get inspired to start planting and growing your own tea. Several of the discussed by me tea today are in our inventory, and the list will be shown on the next slide. Thank you for your kind attention. Be well. Drink a lot of interesting teas. Cheers!